Cool.
We're back. We're live. We're in effect. We got a special guest today. Welcome to the Together We Rise podcast.
Thank you.
Main man, a lot of different hats. I've looked into you and just, want to do my homework, to do my respect.
I appreciate it.
Ricky Carrillo, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to get my
Carrillo, bro.
Carrillo.
You gotta roll that R, bro.
I'm trying to get my Spanish up, right?
Pretty good.
Yeah, he's a realtor, lender, serial entrepreneur, short-term and long-term rentals.
Yeah, both.
Okay, dope. Yeah, so just a huge influence pillar in everything we do as Rise Group as well. So bringing you on was a must. So
I appreciate it.
Yep,
Yeah.
Definitely.
He's a young killer. He's a young killer.
Young killer. Okay.
Yeah. Just for a little context, what really, brought him on is we just closed the deal together.
Yeah.
For
Raul,
a good friend. He's a pretty good friend of yours.
Yeah.
Just closed, and just throughout the process, it was a pretty pleasant experience throughout the process, but also this is my first time meeting the guy in person, right? We talked a lot, but most of the time he was gone.
Yeah.
He was gone the whole transaction from even submitting the
Means
offer.
he's doing things.
Yeah, he was gone. Like
The
he
guy's
was not
doing
here.
things.
Like he was not here. The first time I'm calling him, his notifications are always on silence. Kind of weird.
He's one here.
But he always replied back. But the first time he's in Arizona, I'm like, okay, he's in Arizona. And then I needed something a couple weeks later. He's still in Arizona. I'm like, dude, you live in Arizona? What's going on?
Do you live in Arizona?
No, I had just bought a property there. And I was dealing with a full rehab and setting it up as a short-term rental.
Got it.
So that was then he caught me there. But then 2 weeks into the escrow, I went to Portugal. I had a trip to Portugal, and I just got back on Sunday. So I'm all time changed is 8 hours.
So yeah, I hit him up a couple weeks after that later. He's like, I'm in Portugal. I'm like, dude, you're never here.
Dude, how is your jet lag right now?
It was I was trying to not mess it up as much by going to bed at 3 or 4 a.m. in Portugal. So that's why James.
That's
was
why you went to bed at 3 or 4 a.m.
What's the Portugal time difference?
8 hours.
8
So
hours.
I just got back from 9.
I was like, 'cause
I was
you
back
were
from
in
London or
Yeah.
from UK on
You sound like you're from London.
Tuesday, and I'm dying right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how I was getting away with it, because I would pretty much work from 12 o'clock there until because I can do a lot of work without clients blowing me up.
Sure.
But then obviously I have to be available for the clients during certain time frames.
True.
So that's why I would end up staying up that late. I'll take a phone call at 1 a.m. over there. And
Right.
It's only 6 p.m. here.
You're not
right?
staying up to take client phone calls. Bro. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
It's like,
I had to squeeze in something. Hold on, let me step outside. Yeah. So it was cool. I haven't been to Europe in a while, but just managing the time changes and stuff
It's
like
a
that.
little bit.
in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in 4 months.
Yeah.
This season, I should say.
But what really intrigued me was obviously we started following each other on socials, and you had let me know that the first time when you were in Arizona that you were setting up an Airbnb, and I know that that's something that I'm interested in that I don't really know a whole lot about. Obviously I know Airbnb. I have a couple friends that dabble a little bit, but I don't really know anyone that really understands that side of the business or that industry heavy. So I'm hoping I can get some more information from you on that, just if you could kind of elaborate on your experience with that.
Sure.
But yeah, and so, wanted to get you on here just to kind of share some of your knowledge and what you've learned throughout the industry. But why don't we start off by why don't you just tell us your story?
Yeah, give
first.
us your
Give
journey.
some background.
Yeah, where you came from and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah.
It looks like you're crushing it from what I've seen. So
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's been the last couple of years have definitely been a life change for sure, and just in general with everything. My circle of friends and the people that I associate with both business wise, personal, it's definitely much different than what it was a couple years ago. I'm super young, if you guys haven't noticed. I'm 24.
Nice.
So yeah, I got into real estate right before I turned 21. Transitioned from banking. And so before this, I was at Chase. I was a relationship banker. So essentially I have my Series 6 and my 63 licenses. And then actually got fired from banking. The day after was when I went to...
First time you went to Portugal.
No, that's a different crazy story. I could get into that on how the whole reason as to what got me fired. But in general, afterwards, I went over to the office that we have here in Brentwood, and the owner of our company, his name's David Green. He's the host of the Bigger Pockets podcast.
Oh, wow.
So I know at the time I was following him, and I had already been listening to the podcast for a while, just in like with real estate, related topics and stuff like that. And so I reached out to them on Instagram. She's like, yeah, come by. You can drop off your resume, reach out to us. I went, did my due diligence, following up with them and stuff like that, trying to join the brokerage. And then 4 months later, he sends me a text message. And he's like, hey, do you have time for a phone call later? And I was surprised, honestly, because I hadn't heard from them. So I was like, well, maybe they ended up going with somebody else. Right. And
what were you applying for? Were you applying?
It was just in general.
To get in?
Yeah, just to get in. Because honestly, at the time, I was like, well, I'll do whatever, right? I'm willing to just sit here and learn. I can spend 6 months to a year not getting paid just to learn from you. I just want to be in this space.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So that's initially how I had reached out to them about it. And then he's like, oh, I had my resume on your desk. Did you apply for this position? I was like, no, honestly, I just want to be around you guys. I'll do whatever it is that you need help with, right? Smart. So he brought me in. We went through like 8 interviews. I met the whole team and everything. And then he had me on as a transaction coordinator. So I did that first for a couple months and absolutely hated it.
Yeah,
so bad with paperwork.
Damn, that sucks.
Not fun at all. Yeah, for anybody who's managed the transaction side of things.
Right.
And so then he's like, well, you have the background in banking. I want to start the mortgage company. Can you just help me kickstart it, right? And he obviously was super busy with the podcast and everything, didn't have the ability to go and handle it himself. So he just placed me with a bunch of different mortgage brokers that he knew and different loan officers to essentially teach me the industry and try to help us kickstart everything. We went through like 8 to 12 months of just like suffering. Sure. Like I was working like 16-hour days. I wasn't getting paid anything because we weren't doing any deals. It was just me learning the process until we finally came across Christian, who's our current broker now. Nice. And then since we brought him on, I told David, I was like, look, this is the guy we got to bring on. He has to be the manager essentially, right? So I basically hired my boss, but then he kind of just kickstarted everything. He and I worked on putting everything together. And now we have a team of like 60 people. We just brought on 10 people last week.
Nice.
So
all over the United States?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we started in California. Last year we did 98 million in loans. That was our first full year in loans. And then it was just California transactions. And really it wasn't until like December that we started getting licensed in other states. Nice. So this year's main goal had been getting licensed in all 50 states.
Right.
Hopefully we can get close to that by then.
It's fun in this market.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been cool because I got in like right before COVID. And so like I was learning everything with COVID, and like COVID was a crazy time for lending, especially. I mean, everybody was doing deals with refinances. So everybody that I was getting placed with, nobody wanted to teach me because everyone was overwhelmed. They're like, well, I have a crazy amount of refinances. I can't teach you anything. Right. So, I mean, for like 4 months straight, I didn't even know that processing existed. I was just doing pre-approvals. And I was like, I didn't even know that you would have to submit a loan and go through the whole back end process.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I got a loan.
Yeah.
And then it goes over.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So the lending was like the main thing that's been my day-to-day, right? Like me and my lending team focus on doing the transactions for our clients, and like I put more energy into that. Okay. The real estate side of things, I've really just learned from being around all our other realtors, right? So we have a team of realtors here in California. We manage both NorCal and SoCal. We have 5 team leaders that each of them have like individual agents who assist in showing properties. And we do about 30 to 40 transactions a month in California. Nice. So with them, I've just learned the lingo, whatever, how to set up a contract properly, negotiating it with the realtors. That's kind of where I picked up like the real estate side of things. Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing a deal for like a friend of mine, then it's mainly just the knowledge that I have from that, right? Or if I'm doing my own personal deal.
Right.
And then, from that, it was mainly just where can I take this money and where can I reinvest it? And so that had always been like my main goal. And it's hard to be in the circle of investors without actually investing yourself. Right. So I ended up taking that money. I obviously put it into real estate. The property in Arizona is my 4th property right now. And then outside of that, I also have a fleet of cars that I manage Turo with, where I basically rent the cars out on the Turo platform.
Nice.
That was mainly just because I really like cars. I didn't want to make the payment. I was like, okay, let me figure out how I can rent these out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm kind of cycling through the cars. But right now, those are the 3 things. And then I got a 4th one coming up. But as far as what I'm focused on right now, is probably those 3.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, to like go off of what you were saying about your team and everything, as like I said, I'm doing my research. I'm up late last night, like, okay, like let me get some intel. Yeah. So I can ask some good questions to you. I see you guys went on a retreat with, is it the David Green team, right? Mm-hmm. You guys went on a retreat to Arizona as well. And I seen like the epic Airbnb that you guys.
It's a crazy property.
Like that looked epic in itself. But some of the other content that you had that really struck, chord with me. And I hope you could share a little bit about it is kind of some of the, the things you learned on that retreat, some of the insights. He had this thing that he was talking about, Kobe Bryant, where you guys were sitting down there, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like the culture you guys going to have. So I want to see if you can elaborate and give us a little game that you soaked up on that retreat.
Yeah, so that was mainly for everybody who's on our leadership team. On our lending team, it's myself and Christian, who's my broker, right? And that's just because we have the most seniority with like where we are with the company,
right?
And I run the biggest like internal team within our lending team brokerage,
right?
And so for me, I have to kind of be the spearhead with implementing new systems or structuring my team in a certain way that gets deals done more efficiently, and then everybody else kind of follows that. And so if I'm not doing that, or if I'm not actively thinking about how I can push that envelope, then it's difficult for the company to kind of also progress, right? Because the broker's job essentially is to make sure that everything's still moving, but not necessarily doing the specific deals. Right. And for me doing the specific deals, my main concern is how can I continue to do more deals, keeping the clients happy, the level of customer satisfaction that we have within the culture, and just being able to push that, right? So that's kind of what the retreat was focused around, right? Just how we could be better in general. Honestly, more than anything, I think it was just like a psychological perspective on like how to analyze our clients, how to better talk to the clients, understand their personalities, and like who it is that I'm speaking to. So one thing that David preaches a lot is something called the DISC profile. Essentially, the DISC profile is this assessment that you can take that kind of categorizes you into the four categories, which would be D, I, S, C, and it's just a different personality that comes with each one.
Right.
And you take that and then you try to apply it in the conversations with clients. So when I'm talking to somebody, I figure out which one of them they'll fall into, and that allows me to better connect with the client.
Be a chameleon.
Yeah, kind of. So that's essentially honestly the biggest takeaway of what we did with the retreat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty sick. I was like,
yeah, that property's crazy.
Pull up there.
That property's crazy. Yeah, he bought that property and has it set up as an Airbnb.
Yeah.
It rents for like $2,000 a night. It's absurd.
It was like $500,000 cash flow a year or something.
How many bedrooms?
It's crazy, bro.
It sleeps 20 people.
That's not bad.
It's like because think about it, $100 per person if you're taking all 20 people.
Right.
And then it has a full basketball court. It has a complete separate guest house that's like 3 bedrooms.
Is it available for the Super Bowl and the waste management tour?
I literally had a client text me yesterday. He's like, "Can you send me the link? I want to book it for waste management."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they I think it's booked. That thing
gotta be.
I was looking at the schedule and it was crazy. It's like always booked.
Yeah.
And he obviously with the big social media following that he has also now hosts like investor retreats there. So he just did one last week where he basically took 15 investors who
That's dope.
came out to the property and then had like a one-on-one with him for the whole weekend.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy because most people won't do that, but that's a different way of leveraging the property.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the way he got the property.
Yeah.
Right.
So the property too
it was like no money down. He just took the equity that it would cost to rent it out and let us know.
Yeah. So, somebody who has a ton of real estate, it's difficult to get conventional financing, right? So that's one of the things that we always do a lot of non-conventional loans on for our investors. Yep. And for his specifically, we based it off of the projected rental income that the property was going to generate on Airbnb. So we have a really good relationship with one of our banks where we essentially, they'll allow us to use the proposed rents for the property to qualify, making sure that it'll cover the monthly payments, not looking at any of his income. No taxes, literally nothing. It's
and
like
you can use proposed rents from short-term rental as well.
Yeah. So that program essentially before like this year was just long-term rental only.
Right.
But now with the crazy influx of people wanting to buy short-term rentals, it's been absurd with the amount of deals that we were doing. Like back from January to June, we probably did like 40 million in just short-term rental loans, which is crazy. And those people were putting 15% down.
Yeah.
Now it's not. Now they want 20, but
still not bad.
Ours I think is 20.
Yeah, 20 is the new minimum.
Used to be 15 for sure.
That was tough. Up until like May or June when the market kind of adjusted. Right. But that's essentially the product that we used for his specific deal, and worked out really well.
Dope.
Yeah, because I think the annual revenue, I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean $2,000 a night, even if we were doing like 15 days out of the month, right? It's still a crazy amount that it's bringing in. Yeah. And he bought it also below market value because nobody in that area wanted the property.
Where's it at? What city?
It's North Scottsdale, so it's like right above Paradise Valley.
Right where you want to be.
Yeah.
Like in the dirt road area.
Yep.
Oh man.
So if you go out there, it's just every house there has its own street. It's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what? It's like, well, there's your driveway. You can have 30 cars in front.
Bro,
Yeah.
One time, my friend for his birthday rented a house up in North Scottsdale in those dirt road area, and we took it was the same weekend as the BLM riots.
Okay.
And they were looting, so we had to kind of get out of Old Town, and we went up to my buddy. He had rented the house, and we took Uber up there, and the pavement turned into dirt, and it's not flat either. It's
it's
super
like this.
bumpy.
Yeah.
There's jackrabbits running across the street. There's tumbleweeds. Like it's nuts. The Uber driver several times was like, you know what, you guys are just gonna have to get out
To walk.
You gotta walk.
There's no street lights. Like I was like,
That's my car.
It was nuts. It was nuts. Like I was like, where are we going? Like
End of the
this
road
is
here.
not Scottsdale.
Yeah.
It's kind of farther up there, but there are some sick properties out there with huge garages and multiple properties. Yeah,
Yep.
multiple
And
houses.
it's just large land. So most places they don't build up unless you're on the mountain.
Yeah, they go wide.
Right? They just go wide.
Yeah.
And that one's 5 acres. So it's massive. I mean, it's a huge lot. There's so many parking spaces. I was like, you don't even need a 20-car garage if you have the whole street. You can park your cars on.
Right.
So
that's dope.
That property's crazy.
So, what got, or I guess, explain to us your start in investing. You said you had made some money in real estate or in lending, and then you started. What did that look like for you?
My first one was a long-term rental. I purchased a property here in Stockton. I actually bought it off of a client of ours who we had helped. She has a crazy story on what we did with her investing strategy. We pulled funds out of 3 different properties that she had already owned, including her primary. And this was when interest rates were super low. So in fact, she was already benefiting by getting a lower rate. But we took that money and we helped her buy 5 other properties. There she split the down payment between each one of them. And she does what we consider house hacking. So what she was trying to do. Yeah. So she wasn't even living in one as a primary. With these properties, she was having them as an investment, but still house hacking them. So she would find ones that were either 2 stories or something where you could split it up and then rent it half and half. And it's just way more revenue, but you also get a long-term lease.
Right.
So that was her strategy with it. She came to us and she's like, well, my goal is I want to have $10K a month in net profit from my real estate portfolio sometime in the next 5 years. We made it happen in a 1.5 years.
Yeah, it's pretty doable.
Yeah. So it was crazy. But essentially she was talking to me about one of the properties and she's like, yeah, my neighbor is always complaining and she's talking about this easement and this and this. She's always calling me late at night. I was like, all right, well, what are the numbers on the property? So I was just talking to her. I was like, this would make sense even if I put, 15% down.
Right.
So I ended up buying the property from her. That was my first one.
Nice.
Let me help you out.
Yeah. So I bought it.
Your hands.
Blocked the number from the neighbors. Neighbors never called me. She will not blow me up. Yeah. So it's I haven't dealt with the neighbor at all. My tenants.
I know how to handle this.
Yeah. So it's I'm good. I'll take it. So I got the property from her. Love my tenants. I kept the same tenants. They don't do anything.
that's the best.
They literally text me between the 1st and the 5th. Hey, we zelled you the rent. And if there's any problems at the property, they fix all of it for me.
Yeah.
They don't even charge me. I'm like, okay,
dope.
you guys can stay there. I didn't even increase the rent on them this year because they haven't done anything. I spent $0 on the property last year.
That's dope. Yeah, I got lucky with my first one like that too. I acquired the tenants, and they're cool. They don't knock on wood, but they don't call me.
100%.
They don't call me.
Yeah. So after that, I was like, well, I want something that's not just giving me $300 a month in cash flow, right?
Right.
I was like, I want to get into a short-term rental. And one of my favorite places is Miami, Florida. So I was looking in Miami initially, and then at the time, honestly, I didn't really know how to run deals that well, especially for short-term rentals. So I kind of just went with a property that I liked, and I was like, well, if it makes its own payment a month, that's fine because I could use the property whenever I want.
Right, you can go and visit. Yeah.
Yeah. So in September, I ended up buying a condo in Miami.
I'm sorry. Before, when you bought it, how did you find that specific condo, and did you have to do research?
Great question.
Yeah.
So I honestly I was always on TikTok, and on TikTok you'll end up on real estate TikTok just most of the time.
Right.
So this realtor who was on TikTok, I hit her up and she's like, I was like, well, I want something that I can rent out as an Airbnb. So obviously the HOA has to allow it because most places in Miami are condos. And she's like, yeah, there's only 3 buildings that'll do it. And so she gives me the 3 buildings. I was like, well, one of them was the cheapest and it looked the best. That was the one that I went with. Yeah. And so
narrowed it down pretty easy.
After I hit her up, I DM'd her. She called me 2 hours later. 7 days later, we're in contract.
That's sick.
It was like, I'm the easiest client. Yeah. I didn't even go see the property. It was a brand new construction. It was built in 2019.
Right. I'll see it when I close.
Yeah. She FaceTimed me. She did her walkthrough.
Yeah, you're like, yep.
We had inspections. Yeah. I had lunch with her after we closed, and that was like the only time.
Via Zoom? You're on Zoom?
No, so I actually went to Miami. But yeah, everything I did remote. I mean, the closing and everything, I didn't even go to the condo.
That's dope.
I got my keys
Have you been there since?
I have been there since. Yeah,
Of course, yeah. This is Miami,
100%.
right?
So, I had to go set up the property myself, right? So I was in Miami for a couple of weeks setting it up at the end.
So what does that look like, setting up the property, for those who don't understand that concept?
Honestly, just the furniture. It's just this pain in the ass with the furniture. I try to leverage as much of it out as I can. My cousin, she's an interior designer in Austin, Texas, and she graduated school with like the interior design degree. So I gave her the layout for the property, and I was like, you handle it. You give me the dollar amount. Just make sure it's under 20K. Because it was like it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. It's like 1,100 square feet. We can do it with that number, right? Like it should be okay. And she made it work. I think it came out to like 14 or 15K. Property looks great. I basically told her, I said, just break everything down on a spreadsheet for me. You put all the links, I'll buy everything, and then you tell me where to put it, and I'll set it up. And then when I was already there, I took like 3 hours to assemble like a table and a couple chairs, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. So I called people on TaskRabbit, came out, I spent like $500 on TaskRabbit. They built the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
Super fast. Yeah.
So then that's your first Airbnb, right? So now you have this condo.
Yep.
How much is the condo?
I bought it for $550.
Okay. What's the mortgage?
The mortgage right now is $1,800 without my HOA, and the HOA is about $700 a month.
Okay, so all in
25.
25.
Yeah.
So you're 25 a month. You spent 20. What was your down payment on that one?
My property actually priced for $100K less than the purchase price, and I was in contract with the builder. The problem that I had was that the appraiser who went out to the property only went off of all the appraisals ever, right? But he used comparables that were on the MLS and not private sale comparables. And most condo complexes in Miami will sell privately. The builder will sell directly to someone who's just buying it all cash or whatever the case is. They make more money that way by not listing it. But now it affects the comps because when I looked at all the sales in the building, my property should have appraised for $560, $570 because that's what the 1-bedrooms were selling for.
They don't do like entry only on the MLS, just throw it on there after it closes?
Yeah, that's what they should have done, or recorded it to where it would have been on the MLS, right? But no. So like only a fourth of the ones that have it actually sold were on the MLS, and it threw me off completely because 3 months prior, one had sold on the MLS for $470. And that was because that was when they had just initiated all the sales.
Yeah.
So what builders do is they'll like sell all the all the ugly ones and like the ones they don't,
they'll start
shitty views and all that other stuff, and they'll sell it for way below. And then it's like, okay, well now we have all the nice ones left because everything else is sold. You got to pay, $200K over.
Right.
And that's essentially what had happened. But I like the condos so much, I was like, whatever, I'll spend the additional money to get that property. So I ended up spending more money than I wanted to, and I haven't pulled the money out yet, but it's just been sitting there. Yeah, like whatever.
So you had your down payment, had to put in a little extra.
So the total
cash.
came out initially. It was going to be like 15. Total came out to about 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you spent another 15, 20 on furniture. So how quickly or how long was it until you got your first renter?
So I actually listed the property on Airbnb with the staged photos that I had from the listing. Okay. And I did that because I wanted to see what traction I was going to get. Right. And I actually listed it.
Is this before close of escrow?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So I did it.
And with Airbnb, you could like say, yes, you could take it, or no, you could take it once they
That's correct. Okay. Yep. So I could have said, no, I'm not going to take any bookings. Yeah. Right? So that's what I did. But what I did was I actually just blocked it off up until like 2 weeks after my close, because I knew it was going to take me about that time to set it up. And I got a lot of traction. My whole like month of December got like 3/4 fully booked. Christmas and everything, and then a bunch of them in January started to roll in, and by the time that I was done with the property, I probably already had like 20 confirmed bookings from that day.
When did you close?
Forward. I closed November 29th.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I set it up in 2 weeks, and then I left Miami.
Holidays,
yeah.
Wait, so before you closed, you already had 20 people booking it out.
Yeah. And then what I told my cousin was, you just need to match the staged photos as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and I'm going to change the photos.
It's Airbnb catfish.
It was
better.
Yeah.
It's better. Like, whoa, that wasn't in the photo.
Yeah.
Old fashioned.
Nobody noticed. That's not the same rug that was in the picture, right?
Yeah.
So nobody noticed, but it worked out well.
As long as it's better, no one's gonna care.
Yeah,
100%.
Okay, so how did you decide how much you were gonna put it up a night, like for rent at night?
The comparables and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 3 websites I use now mainly to run comparables, and even before I go into a property to figure out whether it's gonna make sense for me or not. The first one obviously is just Airbnb, right? You want to look at comparables in the area. You want to see what are they renting for, what their calendar actually looks like. You can like forward check their calendar. And it's like, are they actually getting booked or not?
Right.
Do I think my property is going to perform better than theirs? Right. Those types of things, or like the location and stuff like that. So I'll check that first. And then, so that's how I did it to figure out pricing wise, right? It was like right now it'll rent somewhere between $190 and like $300 if it's like a spring break or something, right?
On a weekend.
Yeah. So that's kind of the range where it'll.
Do you have to go in there and change the?
No. So there's a software we use called Price Labs.
Okay.
$20 a month. And it tracks all holidays, all events, everything, moves the dynamic pricing. It essentially moves everything for you.
Dope.
Yeah. So all I do is I set the minimum and I set the maximum, and it'll push it in between.
Got it.
Which is between 190 and 300, right?
Got it.
So like for Christmas, if I go in at the pricing, it'll probably be like.
So it does it on Airbnb for you.
Yep.
Do you only use Airbnb, or do you have like VRBO?
We just set up VRBO yesterday. Yeah. But this whole year, just been Airbnb.
Dope.
And last month I actually had 100% occupancy. Wow. It's crazy. The whole month was booked.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Last month,
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Most of Miami though is typically like January to July, right? The slow time there is towards the end of the year. It gets really humid. Most people don't really go. You know, it's just spring break time, or like when the weather's really good is when most people.
Yeah. Well, there's like hurricane season too, right? So
That
people don't
too.
really want to be there during like
100%.
August, September. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're paying $2,500 a month for
Yeah.
mortgage and HOA. How much are you at on average pulling in from the property
This year so far, I think I'm right around $70K
a month?
for the year.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's been somewhere between 5 to 7K a month.
Dope.
Yeah, some really high months like March I think was like 8,500. Just because I had one guy who booked it for like 3 weeks straight. He's like, oh, I'm coming down from New York. It's snowing here. I don't want to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
$300.
Yeah.
For you?
His payout, that was my biggest one. I think the payout was like $4,200. Like that's crazy. I could rent the unit for $3,000 for the whole month.
Right.
And in 2.5 weeks, I'm making $4,000.
In Portugal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
dope.
that's honestly what got me more into it. And then I've talked to my broker a lot about it. He actually owns 20 Airbnbs.
Wow.
And for him to
It's a lot
manage
to
all
manage,
those,
yeah.
crazy. But one of the best tips I can give probably for someone who wants to get into an Airbnb, the easiest way to run your numbers is look at the purchase price and what you're going to get it under contract for. If you're buying $1 million property, you want it to at least bring in 15% of the purchase price as your annual revenue. $150K a year, if that $1 million house is bringing you $150K a year, it's going to cover your mortgage, and based on whatever down payment you end up putting, it'll cover your mortgage, it'll cover all your expenses, it'll cover utilities, and pretty much you're left over with whatever profits. Then you also get the tax benefits from owning real estate.
So you're all in on that property, what? Roughly
Like 250.
200, yeah, say 225, somewhere around there. And you're pulling 70, so in a couple of years, you're good.
Yeah. Wasn't the best cash on cash return, but I mean, I think it was over 10%.
Yeah.
When I ran the numbers. Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, you got a little equity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And I
much
can,
almost whole.
go and do a refi, or whenever I want to pull that money back out, reinvest it into another one.
You got to start somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was your first one.
Yeah. The first short-term rental.
First short-term rental.
And then shortly after, my realtor was like, hey, there's another condo complex that's under pre-construction sales right now, where you can basically buy the unit before it even gets completed. And when it's ready, you'll have access to it, and then you could end up selling it for more. So she was telling me that a lot of people who purchase in Miami specifically would buy units that are pre-construction. So, like for example, the one that I bought for $550, if I had got it pre-construction, I would have paid $350.
got it.
By the time it's done.
By the time it's done, plus market appreciation, plus
Especially condos, do they all have to be? I don't even know. Does it have to be completely I guess
completed
before anyone moves in.
Yeah. So they have to get the certificate of occupancy right before they're allowed to go in. But that one is set to be completed end of 2023. So I'm technically under contract on that one, and it's not going to close until they finish it. But that one I'm buying for $850. It's in downtown Miami Brickell.
Nice. Did you go higher up or did you?
Yeah. So that was on floor 29.
Nice.
It's crazy.
What's the first one on?
Floor 9.
9.
Yeah.
So you went 9 out of 29. Let's go 24.
Yeah.
This is cool and all, but I'm ready for 2.
Yeah. I don't have the view that I'll get with that one. And that one's like right by a river. Super cool. Yeah. And it's that one's gonna compete more. In my like opening presentation with the salespeople from the builder, they basically like broke it down. Hey, if you want to Airbnb it, we'll have an Airbnb team in-house where we'll put it on like 60 different platforms. It's like 20% split.
Yeah.
And they'll throw it everywhere. So I can have people booking it from like all kinds of countries that come in and book it.
That's pretty nuts.
So I'm going to try that
share
out.
20% with them?
As profit, basically, right? Like they'll get the revenue,
right?
And then the leftovers for me. But that one, just based on how it's going to be completed, it's going to come fully furnished, literally down to the forks and the spoons in the place.
Oh, wow.
And it's essentially going to be in competition with like all the 5-star hotels that are there. Nice. So it should rent for somewhere between like $600 to $800 a night. And that one I think is going to do great numbers.
Wow.
Before I let anybody stay there, I'll probably go to Miami for like 6 months. And
I'm gonna go live
spend a couple months there.
Get some loans from here.
Yeah.
29th floor.
Yeah. That building is going to be crazy. I think it's like 50 floors. But Miami market right now is absurd.
Yeah, it's
nuts. Yeah. The lady had emailed me not so long ago and she's like, "Oh, we have our penthouses available. They start at $3 million." I'm like, "Yeah, let me go buy one right now for $3 million."
Next year.
Yeah, it's crazy. Those numbers are crazy.
I'm not in touch with many people in that market. Do you know if they've seen change at all?
Yeah. So I was looking at another property in Miami specifically, but like a house outside of it. And just with every market right now, especially because we do loans across the U.S., I kind of have a bird's eye view on like all the different spots. And most of them are dropping prices by like a little bit. I mean, you'll see price reductions across the board, but nothing like major. Sure. So, and I think it's better for the buyers, right? I mean, buyers are having a better chance getting properties under contract. You know, they're getting seller credits on most deals sometimes, right? We're not seeing 50 to 100K over asking and 50 offers being written on a property, which is good. I think that's good for everybody.
It helps when you have buyers.
Yeah,
it helps us when we have buyers.
Yeah, 100%. The one thing is just the loans. I mean, the rates are out the ass right now. So it's just, but that's the trade-off. The people who understand.
It's a double-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are coming to me like, is it a good time to buy?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, there's never a bad time to buy. Mm-hmm. There's only a bad time to sell. So
yeah.
It's a double-edged sword.
Right? Yeah.
Do you need it?
You just never have both, right?
Yeah.
Rarely or we ever have both. You had both in 2020.
Some people do. They're just getting lucky, though.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a moment. For like
low rates, high sales price.
Yeah.
You put that money into another property.
Or do you want to wait till everybody jumps in the pool?
Yeah. Right.
Or low, not even just high sales price, low rates, and you're coming in with, we all saw it, you're coming in with your down payment plus, overappraised value. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're coming in with more cash with
more
low
cash
rates.
for sure.
Yeah. You're fighting a lot of battles in that market,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you ever get worried about laws around Airbnbs?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. A lot of clients always ask me that. And I think the best thing somebody could do to hedge against it is just finding a location that already has a lot of rules set in place. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at a place that has no rules, then best believe you're in a shooting in the dark, right? Because they could turn around next week and change the rules on you, right? So definitely doing due diligence on that end.
Yeah, like Miami's probably already a pretty heavy Airbnb market. So if you change laws up there, people are going to be pretty pissed. You're going to have a lot of people pretty pissed.
Yeah, these destination spots are usually kind of tapped in that way, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's why my 2 spots right now is Scottsdale and Miami.
Right.
Yeah.
Vacation places.
Mm-hmm.
Dope.
For sure.
Dope. I know that market in Scottsdale, I've heard, is getting crushed pretty hard
right now. Yeah.
Like Phoenix.
Purchase price wise, I think the for sure it's definitely slowing down. Yeah. I probably overpaid for my property, but I'm not worried because I'm not really going to sell it.
Who cares?
Yeah.
So it's only a bad time to sell. Like I said, like that's the only thing.
Yeah.
That's dope. Did you pick the cream or the gray blinds?
I let my cousin deal with the headache. Yes.
I'm watching, brother.
And that one's way more of a project that's been through the ringer on that property, especially because it was my first full rehab. Definitely not doing one anytime soon because it's a pain in my ass.
Yeah. That was the Arizona
What didn't
property,
you
right?
like about it?
What didn't I like?
Yeah.
Honestly, the headache of me having to play construction manager.
Yeah.
If I could have outsourced that to my brother, who's a contractor, I would have. He didn't want to leave the Bay Area because although he can work remote, he's like, no, like I'm already busy. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But that's the next thing I would do. If I can outsource the construction management and I don't have to deal with it, then yes. But because I was sitting there nitpicking my contractor, telling him what's going on, when are you pulling up, why are you not doing this, we need to meet it by this date. I was also pushing the hell out of him because
what's that date that you have in mind?
A month ago.
When did you start and where are you at now?
Yeah. So I bought the property this year. So I closed in March.
What kind of loan?
I did a 1099 only. I don't qualify conventionally, right? So
you did non-QM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uncle Sam's not going to get tax money, but
you'd rather put in the property.
Yeah, but reinvest it to the real estate. So 1099 only. They basically take my 1099s divided by 12. They take a 10% haircut, and that's my monthly income. So essentially, they didn't look at my taxes. I was able to qualify. At the time, the rate was high, but I got a 5.5 on the property.
6 is probably where you're around 6 is where you were living at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was doing the same. I was doing the same thing around the same time probably, and I didn't pull. I did put in. offers,
did pull the offer.
I did put in offers, but I'm pretty.
He didn't close.
I nitpick, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, dude,
I negotiate hard. Just do it.
He's like,
man, it's like a 5.75, and I'm like,
I put in like 3 offers, and I was just like,
now that's the norm.
And now it's 8.
Now it's 8. Yeah.
Now we're 8.
And
here we are.
Where you're at.
Yes.
You're in the bleachers.
Yeah. So I'm happy about where I put it. The problem I'm not going to do again is that because I had so much time that I needed to deal with the property, I had already agreed in the contract that my sellers were going to be able to stay at my property for 45 days to move all their stuff out. And it screwed me up big time.
That's a tough one.
Because I didn't get to start the project until after they had already moved out. Then
did you for free 45 days?
No. So they paid me the month and a half of my mortgage.
Okay.
And then because I was not going to come, I was like, no, my mortgage is $5,300 a month. You're going to pay for it if you want to.
You bought a house or you bought?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one's
in Phoenix.
Yeah. So it's right on the border of Phoenix and Scottsdale.
Nice.
And it's like 2,800 square feet. Has a pool. It's a really nice house. It was ugly as hell when I bought it, though. I don't know what the sellers were thinking, but if you guys look at the pictures, I'll show you after. They had a different flooring in every single room. And there's 9 rooms in this house. I have 2 kitchens, I have 2 living rooms, and then I have 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Everything was completely different flooring. So I redid everything. I redid all the flooring. We had to redo all the electrical. The master bedroom had 1 fan when the fan had a light.
How old is the home?
I think it was in the 60s. Okay. I'd have to double check. It still had popcorn ceiling. Like it's old. Yeah. And the sellers were Lebanese. They didn't do really any updates to the house.
So you started in what month?
So I started at the end of June because I was in Miami for 2 weeks and then I came back. So at the end of June was when I started it. And essentially I've been dealing with the project since then. And we were, September? Yeah. So.
Man, that's not, 4 months so far?
Yeah. I've pushed it really fast. So like I think to where
too bad.
The house has been the same right now as it was 3 weeks ago when I left. Just because 3 days before I left, they discovered a $15,000 plumbing issue that I had some tree roots that broke through my plumbing underneath. And they have to now tear up my entire front yard that was already landscaped and redone.
It's like sewer lateral.
Landscape last, bro. 100%.
It was already done. I was
I thought we only had cactuses in Arizona. Damn it.
It's just sand.
Yeah.
It's just sand and rock.
But I guess not, So yeah, it's because my 2 of my bathrooms kept getting plugged, and then the guys would come out, they'd fix it. And I'm like, well,
they snake it.
Yeah,
and it's still not working. Yeah.
And it's not working. And then one day the shower, one of my friends was in the shower, and then all the water starts coming out of the toilet.
Man.
I'm like, what? Jesus. Like everything was already done.
Yeah.
And then, not to mention, a couple weeks before, my AC flooded under my brand new flooring. And I was gone. I was gone for like 3 days because I had a wedding that I came back to the Bay Area for. And I get a picture from my contractor. He's stepping in a puddle of water on top of my brand new flooring. I'm like, are you shitting me? So
waterproof?
So they're waterproof.
Not
from the bottom.
A lot of lessons.
Yeah.
So what would you say
for next time
that you would, because construction manager or project manager, whatever it is, like you learn a lot your first one.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't think I would have been able to handle the project as well as I did. My dad has worked for a structural steel subcontractor, and he's been in that business for the last 40 years. So for me, it was easy because I worked with him a lot when I was growing up, and it was just understanding his side of things. You know, he runs the whole project management and seeing how he handles, problems that come up. And so always great. I could call him up if I had issues. Hey, this just popped up. What should I do here? Oh, you need to do this, this, and this. So shortcutting me definitely helped me out a lot.
Nice.
I think for next time, hiring somebody to handle the headache for me, right? And even if I'm paying a little bit more money for it, just to go handle the project. The second thing I would probably do is once I have a plan of what I'm going to be doing to the property, don't change that plan. Because the issues that I had was I would end up having to change my decisions halfway through of like, are we going to be doing this extra item or are we not doing this extra item? Or can we do this later? Can we do it after the property's built or should we do it now? Like I wasn't planning on doing any landscaping, but 2 months in I decided to do landscaping.
Yeah.
So it's
you're
like,
looking, you're like,
yeah,
it.
right. So obviously those things come up,
Right.
but then they add to my timeline and it kind of messes with that. So probably just doing a better job of like outlining how long am I going to take? What do I want to complete? What do I not want to complete? Or what can I do later? That's probably that. And also maybe reviewing my inspections a little bit more because
So
I would have found that problem.
So you said you did a 45-day rent back to the seller?
To the sellers, yeah.
So was that to be just like, I think this is educational for people that, want to do, purchase a home in real estate?
Yeah.
Was that to make your offer stronger, or is it something that was a necessity that they just needed within the
They
sellers?
needed it. They needed it.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, we're flying back to Lebanon. We need to move all of our stuff. We need more time to do it. And I was like, well, I don't want to increase our escrow time frame because I don't want to lose my rate.
Right.
So that's why I was like, let's just close. You guys can stay on my
there.
property for 45 days.
Yeah.
after.
So what he's referring to our audience that's listening is it's called a rent back for the seller that owns the property. So him being the buyer, he purchases the property, says it's a 25-day close of escrow. After it closes, the sellers get to stay inside that property for 45 days of your choice. Sometimes people do it for free to make your offer stronger.
Yep.
Or you could pick the time frame, 2 weeks, however much you guys agree upon for them to be able to move out or find their next place. So it makes your offer stronger, and it could definitely get your offer accepted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 100%.
And most of the time, your first mortgage payment isn't due for what?
45
at least
days.
30, 45 days?
Yeah. So typically the second month after you close,
Yeah.
right? So, and I pushed it to close April 1st, so then my payment would be advanced one more month, right? So it wasn't until June that my first payment, right?
Nice.
And then that was when so that's my other problem is like I've spent a lot of money on just mortgage without the property
your holding
making any
cost.
money.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to Arizona.
Is that still
I
considered?
was going to say, is there a reason why you bought it more traditional style financing than hard money? Considering
the hard money plus rehab?
Considering the world that you're in.
Yeah.
Where you're coming from, the team that you're on, is there a reason why you went that way?
Yeah, so I wasn't planning on pulling the money out of the property, or I wasn't also planning on taking 6 months to do it, right? Because I didn't.
Yeah.
If I wanted to pull my money back out or get the financing for the rehab, what I actually did was I leveraged my parents' property and did a $400,000 home equity line, and I used the home equity line to fund the whole rehab project.
Got it.
And my down payment. So I haven't even used
Yeah,
any.
you haven't used
Thanks,
anything.
Mom, Dad.
my own money.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me that
Shout out
HELOC,
parents.
Mom.
Yeah, 100%.
You believed in me.
God,
dude.
I could not have asked for that
Don't watch
2 years
this
ago.
podcast, though. It's not finished yet.
What would you say?
Yeah.
So the contractor called today, and the roof sagging. What's your exit plan? Because a lot of people hear the beginning and success of I purchased a property, I'm in it now, I'm doing all these things, but most people, at least with lending, and they don't realize that they have to have an exit plan.
Yes.
And the exit plan can be 30 years from now. The exit plan can be, I got a hard money loan.
Yeah.
We have clients that have struggled with that because they didn't realize they had to do something by a certain time. So what's your exit plan, considering you've, leveraged another property within your family to basically fund everything you want to do on this one? What's your exit plan?
The exit plan is to refi the property, but later. I don't plan on doing it now, especially with the fact that price points are slowly decreasing in Scottsdale, right? Even if I did an appraisal and I did a cash out, I don't think it would be worth the new interest rate that I'd be getting.
Right.
So I'm fine with my holding costs, so to speak. And I think that the property is going to be generating enough revenue to cover both payments on the HELOC and my mortgage.
Nice.
Right? Because I estimated somewhere between 12 to 15K a month in revenue. And what my plan was, and what took longer with the property, was that we're trying to get something called Airbnb Plus. Essentially, what Airbnb Plus is like a level up from most listings, where you're offering like extra services, or your property is just nicer all around. So the Airbnb
Comes with a Tesla.
Yeah, they'll park the Tesla out front, right? But
jet skis.
Yeah. That would be great, or a boat. Yeah, even better. But essentially, they come out to your property. They have to do like a full inspection, and then they'll say yes or no. And the biggest
what are their qualifiers?
Bedding is one of the biggest ones.
Okay.
But think about it like a hotel perspective, right? So like, do you have the ability for someone to book your place right now, go in and not need anything but their clothes? Right. And that's what most people want. And a lot of Airbnb hosts suck at that, to be honest.
Don't have beds.
Or they have shitty, right. So that's the biggest thing, right?
So quality and like certain amenities, certain things like, shampoo, I'm assuming, and like,
Aperol.
Aperol.
I got a whole tequila section. So that house is cool because my second kitchen, I converted it into a bar/game room, and then I did this indoor-outdoor window that goes out into the backyard.
Yeah.
So people could just pass.
Big deal.
He loves those. Actually,
I'm all about those. I don't know why more people don't. I told the Nationals they need to do that, dude.
Yes.
I was like,
their house is perfect for it.
Perfect for it.
Yeah.
Two different windows.
Is
literally
right
two
there
windows
to the pool.
Like, come on, man.
That's the way to do
What are you
it.
talking about?
You got to throw like an EV charger in there.
I could.
You should.
Think
about it. People are driving up to potentially.
Teslas. Yeah, I forget about people driving because I'm taking my Tesla next week.
You should do that.
You're right.
Battery
Good idea.
wall.
$500.
Yeah, $500 to throw a charger in there.
Not a bad idea. I might throw that in next week now.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, this is what you said. We need to figure this out before the plan. Correct.
Your electrician would have just threw that in there.
Yeah. Yep.
The last rehab we did, we threw an EV charger in it.
Nice.
At least a plug-in for it because it's just you got to.
I think it makes sense.
It makes the most sense for anything that you're doing rehab-wise. You might as well do it, especially if you're running electrical.
I agree. Yeah, I hadn't had to think about it. This was because I think about it. I went from a 1-bedroom condo, just furniture already built.
Yeah, you're not thinking.
I jumped through everything to go to a 5-bedroom crazy house that needed everything. I tore down 2 walls. We opened up the window. Right. So it's been a cool project. I'm ready for it to be over.
Did you get your hands dirty, or did you just point?
Yeah, no. So I was tore up one of the rooms because I was just tired that they were taking so long. And I was like, I'm just gonna take the sledgehammer and go break shit.
That tequila section was empty.
Just like mad at it. How was your experience finding a contractor in another state?
Oh, here we go.
That's
another story.
That's a big deal for some people that are because you always hear. To get into real estate, getting in real estate in the Bay Area is really tough. Price points are so high.
Yes.
People are always like, "Oh, I'm gonna do the out-of-state thing." When they have to go find a contractor, they get really, really discouraged.
Yeah, it's hard to find somebody who does good work, and I think, but just with the background that I have through my dad, it's like my dad is so picky, and he's the type of person that's like, I'm not going to hire somebody to do the work because they're not going to do it as good as I will.
Sure.
But for me, it's like a time thing. I'll hire somebody because I don't have the time to deal with it, right? And so finding somebody who's at the level of quality that I know my dad could do the work is what was like the most difficult, being that the property was in Arizona. If it was here in the Bay Area, I could have just leveraged my dad's network of people to go and handle the work for me, right? But out there, I pretty much had to do everything myself. My first contractor, who I had already picked out, was a referral from my realtor, and she had like gone back and forth with me. That she did a walkthrough. The contractor's like wife did the walkthrough. She broke down everything. We talked about it. Ghosted me for like a month and a half straight because I had my sellers at the property, and so that was during the time that we hadn't even picked a date of when they were going to start.
Yeah.
But never got back to me. I like blew her up, texted her, emailed her, called her, nothing. I was like, you guys must be so busy, you don't want to deal with the house. But I put in like 80 to 100, almost 90K in construction work, right? So it was a lot of money for them on the table because I did everything in the house. I ended up just finding somebody on Angie's List. Angie's List, I had 8 contractors walk the property. I just went with the one that I felt could do the best work. Yeah.
Nice.
And the best price, of course, right? Yeah. But it's like,
cheapest price or like best work?
No. This guy's expensive.
So expensive.
Yeah, he's also expensive, and now he's irritating me because we're already done with the project and he was supposed to be doing my plumbing 3 weeks ago. My guy's lagging on me.
So with that out-of-state, process as well, do you have property management that helps you oversee the properties, clean them, and do all that?
Yeah. So the reason I got into Scottsdale and not Miami again for the second one, I was looking in both markets. My deal popped up in Scottsdale first before it did in Miami. Okay. And my friend Moises, actually, his sister's a realtor in Scottsdale, and then he manages a couple Airbnbs already there, including his own, that had already been doing great numbers. So I was like, that's just the next location. I'll put the numbers there. Leveraging his network, I'm using his cleaners.
Boots on the ground already.
Yeah. That's kind of why I squeezed into Scottsdale.
And then Miami?
And then Miami was completely off the. Yeah, we had to do everything ourselves.
Probably he's in a building though, so it's
That's
probably
what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
someone's
much
probably already
easier.
in the building,
Yeah,
probably
that
cleaning.
does other people's, and it's like right.
Mm-hmm. Now that building actually also does that profit sharing thing that I mentioned earlier with the other one. So
You do PM.
yeah, they'll let us do it's 20%, but I was like, no, I'll do it myself. It's easy. It's a 1-bedroom condo.
Yeah.
All I needed was a cleaner.
Right.
Charged me $125 a month, $125 cleaning. Yeah, and then takes me before and after pictures. She's on it. Yeah, haven't had any complaints.
Nice, man. Nice. So where's the next market? Vegas,
Right? I don't know. Nevada's hard to get licensed in,
Yeah.
and I want to do my license there. But maybe I don't know.
For Airbnb.
Yeah, I have. In terms of just like where I see the most people going, and also like with my broker owning so many, like picking the best market, the East Coast has, I think, better markets than we do on the West Coast. Everybody talks about Joshua Tree. I think Joshua Tree is probably a little bit trickier just in terms of like permitting and stuff like that.
What about like Nashville?
Oh yeah, because everybody's there.
Yeah.
It's it's infested right now with Airbnbs, right? So if the Scottsdale one does really well, then I'll probably stay on top of Scottsdale. Miami, I already have that second one that's going to come up in Miami. On the East Coast, I've heard some really great things about North and South Carolina. And Tennessee, of course, it's like Airbnb Central. Yeah. We were just in Tennessee for another team retreat. We did the Scottsdale one, and then a couple weeks later, we did one in Tennessee at my broker's cabin there. And that property's crazy. It has an indoor pool, like a cabin with an indoor pool, and his rents for $1,500 a night, and his numbers are absurd. But Gatlinburg is so popular with short-term rentals that it's like infested also, similar to Joshua Tree. So I don't know if I'd enter that market, but I'm thinking the one thing that I do pay attention to for myself personally, I know some investors just care about cash flow. For me, one, I care about cash flow, but two, I want a location that I can still use myself. Miami, my main driving factor was the fact that I just love Miami. I'll go there and I'll use the place. Scottsdale has grown on me now that I've been at Scottsdale. I love Scottsdale. And it's cool. Right? So those are like two awesome places. I know I'll block off my property for a couple weeks and I'll go sometime.
Have a little vacation.
Exactly. Right. So, and I see myself thinking of areas like North and South Carolina. I'm like, what am I going to do over there? Right.
It's I got to take a trip there to see if I
correct
anything going down.
Correct. Yeah.
But Tennessee, Tennessee for sure.
Yeah.
Nashville.
I haven't been to Nashville, but I've heard great things about Nashville.
Epic.
Yeah. Okay.
Nashville.
So
is
maybe it might have convinced me. We'll see. But yeah, I have a lot of clients. Austin's
I heard
great.
other areas of Florida though too, though.
Yeah, like
right?
the Panhandle, Destin, Florida is another great spot. Tampa is good.
I've been fortunate enough to go to every single state besides Alaska.
Okay. I don't think there's that much to see there, but yeah.
You're like a lower 48 guy?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
cool.
There's definitely I think some.
There's a lot of markets. Yeah. There's a lot of markets.
What about like Chicago?
I've never been. Yeah.
Chicago's potential. I mean, obviously Texas was for a moment.
Yeah. I
mean, you're in the best place. I mean, Miami. When you said Miami, I was like,
yeah.
That's one of my favorite.
Miami's great. Yeah.
So I love that spot for sure.
A couple reasons.
Oh, what I was going to ask on that is international in your in your thought process.
100%, yeah. And so we were just in Portugal with the family last week, and the island where my mom was born is called Madeira Island, same island where Cristiano Ronaldo was born. So now they have a ridiculous amount of tourism.
It's great marketing for you, huh?
Yeah, that's everybody in case you want to go there, right? But we stayed at a family friend's home, and I was like, why is this property not on Airbnb? Right? Because I was looking on Airbnb, and there's some places there that are like 200, 300,000 euros, which right now is pretty much the equivalent to $1, right? And it's renting for like $300, $400 a night. And I'm looking, and they're booked for like 20 days out of the month for the whole year.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that's in Argentina right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, texting me, he's like, Blaine, like if you, basically he's saying that all his cousins are doing this. Like if you pay in cash, it's like,
it's even.
The way to go.
Right. It's half of the American dollar. So it's like 50 cents less.
Oh,
right,
in Argentina,
So I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, so anything that's like 500,000 is 250,000.
Yeah.
If you pay in cash in American dollars. So I was like,
okay. Might be convincing.
You're talking my language.
My ears are up.
Yeah. I was like, I might just start there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Cabo got hit like maybe 3 or 4 years ago hard by like the vacation rental.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Like everyone was, and then now it's just super hard to get into.
Tulum now is another great location where there's a lot of people selling places. So because my dad's from Mexico, my mom's from Portugal. So I have both of those places where I'm like, yeah, I've already been there. I think both of those would be great markets, right? My dad's from Puerto Vallarta, which obviously is tourism central. I mean, everybody goes to Vallarta, right?
Great time there.
Love it there.
Yeah. And there's some wild houses there. Like if you look on Airbnb, it's like you can find some $2,000 a night. And I'm like, why is this, you know, how much are they renting this thing for? It's crazy.
I mean, the one we stayed at was sick for his birthday.
Yeah.
That was like a great time. That was a great time.
Yeah. So that's
shout out Strana. Have you been to Strana in Puerto Vallarta? No. You should go.
Strana?
Strana. It's a good club.
Yeah. Is it on the Malecon?
It's
I don't know. It's in Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta. I don't remember any of it.
In Sonora Prime.
Sonora Prime Steakhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Nice. I haven't been to Vallarta in a while. I think it's.
You should get
We
there.
had a good time.
Yeah.
I actually liked it better there than Cabo.
I think to me Cabo's a little bit played out now.
I didn't. It was cool, but I had more fun in PV.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would probably say either Mexico or I would do the island, Madeira.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Europe is. I mean, a lot of people are talking Europe right now. You know, obviously you were just there. He just came back from Europe. I have.
Did you stay at Airbnb?
No, we did hotels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hotels. Almost did Airbnb in South France. Almost did Airbnb.
Okay.
But we weren't sure how long we were going to be there for.
Yeah.
You said in Portugal you have family, correct? So if you do it there, you kind of have people there to
I've heard good things about Portugal.
give you referrals and get the.
Yep.
I just found out I was like 28% Portuguese, dude. Like 2 years ago.
Oh,
So-
there you go.
We're brothers now.
I have some of my blood as well.
Okay, there you
Well,
go.
let's go.
Yeah.
What do you
A
eat?
lot of other things.
In your blood?
Yeah.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah. But yeah, no, those are some great locations. One of my clients is this like Airbnb guru on like TikTok and stuff like that, and he's staying in Colombia. He's lived in Colombia for the last like 4 months.
Where at?
Medellin, I think. Yeah.
Medellin.
And his property's on a golf course.
Sick.
So I'm like, I'm sure there's something good there too, right? That you could Airbnb it out, right? I think just financing is probably the trickiest.
Financing
right?
and then laws too.
That too.
You got to be careful with laws in different countries. You know, like I feel more comfortable probably in Europe than I do in Mexico or South America because you never know. You know, especially Mexico, you never know. People like to take properties over there. So
You don't want to turn Pablo Escobar's prison he built into an Airbnb?
Oh my gosh.
That would be a hit. People would be like, I want to stay.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, guys, let's go in. All right.
Yeah.
Put your cards in.
That would stay on. You know how Airbnb now has like that wow section?
Yeah,
That's probably where it would be.
Right. That's another thing that like I look at and I'm like, the people that do like themes like of their Airbnb, I'm like, interesting.
That I don't know if I'd get into it.
That'd be tough, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be tough because, I mean, you're already segmenting out yourself.
Right.
Yeah, you're in a niche,
Like 100%.
right?
Yeah.
But it's got to be like,
It's got to be like a dope thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing AZ and do like a golf theme house and you put like like a little baby par 3 that's like 50 yards in the backyard simulator. Do all that. Now that would hit. That would hit.
simulator would make sense.
Not in my space, but maybe if I
If you do another one or like your
David's.
Yeah, David's.
Yeah.
Simulator would be sick.
Like you take a bachelor party up to something like that.
Yeah,
Like
for
you said, $100 a night. You have like, a little chipping simulator.
Yeah.
I'm getting that every single time.
Yeah.
Every time.
on a Friday.
On Friday. Yeah. Taking
100%.
Jet Suite X straight there.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Jet Suite's cool. Now that they have that. Yeah.
All right. Well, you have anything else you want to share with the people out there?
The people, yeah. What's next? What do you want to promote? Give them everything that you got coming up.
Yeah, mainly lending. Honestly, we're getting licensed in all 50 states. We work with a crazy amount of investors, right? So if you just want to talk strategy, all my phone calls are literally that. People just come to us for advice on what they should do next, and we just try to plan it out for them. So honestly, that I've seen all kinds of scenarios under the sun, especially now. So definitely lending. You have my Instagram, Richie the Lender. You guys can follow me on that.
At Richie the Lender.
At Richie the Lender, yeah. And then I'm on my Turo business. That's been doing really well. I'm looking for somebody who might have experience with a dealership. So if
we might be able to help you out with that.
Yeah. If you guys want to talk to me about that, you
might
can
be able to help you
let
out
me
with
know.
that.
And then the Airbnbs too. If you guys need help with Airbnb, you can let me know.
I actually myself might tap
Let's
into
do it.
that.
Yeah.
Because I've always been interested in that, and so
I can see you doing that. Follow the Miami.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you should buy in Miami.
I think you'd like Miami.
I like your blueprint. Go where you want to go.
Yeah,
go where you want to go. As long as it makes money there, you're fine.
We were at Tom Ferry, the big Tom Ferry event. What was that? A month ago, maybe?
About a month ago.
And this one lady went up there. She showed her story, but she's like, how many doors did she have? She said like
overall
1,000. Did she say?
Overall was like, it's like 800 something.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, she was nuts. But she was like, I buy in the areas that I wouldn't mind retiring in.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Preaching.
So that stuck with me for sure. So
100%.
And everyone, a lot of people in the Bay Area, a lot of my friends in my network, they're starting to get a little bit older. They're starting to accumulate, money and some wealth, and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And they don't really want to buy here just because they might own a property here, but
right.
when it comes to investments, they don't want to spend all their cash on one property, and they want to go out of state. And they ask me all the time, but I don't know a lot of people out of state that are I don't know a lot of realtors out of state that are doing stuff like that. I know realtors in general in the network, but not that specialize in short-term rentals, which a lot of people are interested in, obviously because of social media and just the potential for money. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's what's generating a lot of cash flow right now with real estate, right? Yeah. So some people are moving away from that $150,000 house in Ohio, right? That's generating $200 a month in cash flow to the $500,000, cabin that might be bringing in $2,000 a month in cash flow.
Right.
And it's more money to play with. You can take that money later and invest it into more real estate.
Sure.
Well, brother, I mean, it's been just a great conversation, great insight. You're like I said, a jack of all trades, and you're crushing it. So we appreciate you coming on the Together We Rise podcast. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want to talk about next. Anybody you want to have come on the podcast, my brother.
Awesome.
Shout him out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ricky
Thank you guys.
Carrillo.
Hold the R, dude.